Since the early 1970s, commercial truck specialists in Japan have relied on these routines to maintain vehicles in the harshest stop-and-go city traffic. It is common for a heavy-duty Japanese diesel to reach 800,000 kilometers on the same engine block it left the factory with, without major overhauls or engine swaps. In contrast, in North America and Europe, engine replacement is often expected around 300 to 400,000 kilometers. The difference is not due to superior metallurgy, advanced engineering, or magical diesel fuel. It comes from 11 precise routines Japanese technicians developed by studying what destroys a diesel engine and systematically eliminating each cause. The worldwide diesel engine repair and replacement market generates approximately $180 billion each year. Blown head gaskets, failed injectors, damaged turbos, clogged diesel particulate filters, and collapsed EGR valves all trace back to a root cause that is almost always preventable at zero cost by following the same rules Japanese fleets have practiced for 50 years. Since 1968, the Japan Diesel Vehicle Technical Association has been recording detailed data on engine lifespans, guiding fleet purchases for decades. However, this information remains untranslated from Japanese and has never been presented at Western automotive expos. The 11 habits described here originate directly from these daily procedures. The first secret is the cold start idling duration. This is widely ignored outside Japan and is the single largest factor behind early engine wear. When starting a cold diesel, the oil in the sump has not reached the correct operating thickness. As a result, the protective oil film on cylinder walls, camshafts, and turbo bearings is dangerously thin. Japanese mechanics insist on a minimum 90-second idle after each cold start before applying any load. This is not 30 seconds, nor simply waiting for glow plugs to finish. In temperatures below 5 degrees Celsius, idling may extend up to 3 minutes. During this period, oil pressure stabilizes, the turbocharger shaft is fully lubricated, and the cylinder walls gain a complete protective oil film. In Western practice, drivers often start, shift, and accelerate within 15 seconds. That short interval is when most permanent cylinder damage occurs. The solution requires no cost, only 90 seconds of patience. The second secret is turbocharger cool-down idling, often overlooked outside Japan. Under heavy acceleration, a diesel turbo spins between 150,000 and 200,000 RPM. At these speeds, the bearing housing can exceed 300 degrees Celsius. Shutting off the engine immediately stops oil flow, but the turbo shaft continues spinning for 30 to 90 seconds without fresh lubrication. The residual oil in the hot bearing housing boils and turns into carbon. Over repeated cycles, carbon blocks oil passages, destroying bearings rapidly. Japanese fleets mandate at least a 2-minute idle after heavy driving before switching off the engine. This allows the turbo shaft to slow safely while maintaining oil flow and reducing bearing housing temperature below the carbon formation threshold. European fleets often replace turbos around 120,000 kilometers, while Japanese trucks using the same turbo models can reach 400,000 kilometers thanks to this simple 2-minute idle. The third secret is testing diesel fuel quality visually. Japanese fleet managers never trust fuel from the pump without checking it first. This is not because fuel in Japan is poor, but because quality can fluctuate in ways invisible to the naked eye. Modern fuel injection systems are sensitive to these variations. Common rail injectors operate at pressures between 1800 and 2500 bar, with internal clearances measured in microns. Contaminated or low-quality fuel can damage injectors over time, even if the first tank appears fine. Contaminated diesel slowly erodes the internal needle seat by 3 to 5 microns every 1,000 kilometers until the injector begins leaking and misfiring. Japanese operators prevent this with a simple visual sediment check whenever bulk fuel arrives. Trucks also carry a basic diesel testing kit for unfamiliar stations. One of these contamination kits costs around $12. Replacing a single damaged common rail injector can cost $400 to $900. Thanks to careful fuel testing, Japanese fleets replace all injectors together at 500,000 kilometers as routine maintenance. In Europe, similar fleets often replace individual failed injectors, sometimes starting as early as 150,000 kilometers. The fourth secret is the 2% ester additive rule. This is not a premium branded bottle or dealership treatment, but a precise amount of lubricating additive Japanese mechanics have used since ultra-low sulfur diesel became standard in the mid-2000s. When regulators removed sulfur to reduce emissions, they also removed the natural lubricating component that protected injectors. Today's ultra-low sulfur diesel is much less lubricating. High-pressure fuel pumps and delicate needle seats were designed for fuel with high lubricity, but now they face dry fuel that accelerates wear. Japanese technicians fix this by adding 2% raw synthetic ester lubricant to each tank. They skip expensive branded cleaners using bulk synthetic ester from industrial chemical suppliers for about $8 per liter. At 2%, 1 liter treats 50 liters of diesel. The cost per fill is less than 40 cents, yet it protects injector seats for 20,000 kilometers. Western drivers often pay $180 for injector cleaning services that only treat symptoms, while Japanese mechanics solve the root cause for 40 cents. The fifth secret is replacing air filters at 60% of their rated lifespan. Filter box mileage ratings are estimates under perfect conditions, not guarantees. In stop-and-go traffic, dusty streets, or construction zones, filters reach maximum capacity around 60% of their stated life. Ignoring this causes two issues. Restricted airflow reduces combustion efficiency, and microscopic dirt breaches the paper, damaging the engine. Japanese crews discard filters at 60% because extended intervals directly correlate with shredded cylinder bores. A new filter costs $15 to $40, whereas repairing a cylinder bored through 40,000 kilometers of abrasive particles runs around $3,500. The sixth secret is monitoring coolant health. Diesel antifreeze does more than control heat. It prevents aluminum corrosion, lubricates water pump seals, and combats cavitation on wet cylinder sleeves and heavy-duty blocks. Cavitation occurs when pressure shock waves form bubbles that implode against cylinder walls, chipping away metal until liners develop holes. Japanese professionals check coolant pH and inhibitors every 20,000 kilometers with a $6 test strip. If protection is weak, they add a concentrated coolant additive instead of flushing the system. The small bottle costs under $15, but prevents cylinder liner replacements costing $2,000 to $8,000. The seventh secret is chemically cleaning the EGR circuit every 40,000 kilometers. Exhaust gas recirculation reduces combustion temperature and emissions, but recirculated exhaust carries moisture, soot, and oil vapor. This sludge accumulates in the EGR valve, cooler, and intake manifold, reducing airflow. The computer opens the valve wider, and carbon chunks eventually damage injectors and valves. Japanese mechanics spray an aerosol cleaner through the intake every 40,000 kilometers. The spray costs $18 and takes 20 minutes. High copper signals bearing wear. Fuel dilution over 2.5% shows injector leaks or DPF issues. Japanese technicians correct these issues immediately. Western fleets wait for a catastrophic failure. A $35 test prevents engine damage costing $4,000 to $40,000. The 10th secret is injector return flow testing, a standard practice in Japanese heavy-duty garages since common rail systems arrived in the late 1990s. Each injector has a small return line routing unused fuel to the tank. The flow volume indicates injector health. A new injector sends back a precise volume. As the needle seat wears, return flow rises. Mechanics attach inexpensive graduated plastic vials to measure flow over 15 minutes. Tubes cost $40. Injectors exceeding 20% over factory spec are replaced before causing misfire, oil dilution, or DPF damage. Japanese shops perform this every 60,000 kilometers. Western shops only act after complaints, by which point engine damage is already done. The 11th secret is the fuel tank vent vacuum test, the simplest, cheapest, and most overlooked maintenance task. Diesel tanks must breathe. As fuel is consumed, fresh air enters through a small filtered vent to equalize pressure. When the vent clogs with dirt, a partial vacuum forms. The lift pump struggles, burning out faster. This test is absent from American and European service schedules, but appears in every Japanese commercial maintenance manual since 1985. These 11 secrets are fully documented, verifiable, and non-proprietary. None require expensive dealership tools or factory training. The Japan Diesel Vehicle Technical Association has published this data for over 50 years. Western and American mechanic schools avoid teaching these methods because large corporations profit from the failures these practices prevent. A truck reaching 800,000 kilometers on its original block generates zero sales of injectors, turbos, DPFs, or EGR rebuilds. Reliable trucks eliminate recurring service revenue. This is why these habits are standard in Japanese apprenticeships, but omitted from local manuals. Please leave your thoughts about this content in the comments below. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.